Hello everyone. Welcome to a new session of Introduction to Intellectual Property. Today we will be discussing few concepts related to intellectual property rights, the different types of intellectual property rights. What do you understand by copyrights? What do we mean by patents? What are industrial designs? How are they different than trademarks? How is the concept of unfair competition under the Competition Act related to or interfaces with intellectual property rights and the different types of intellectual properties which are common throughout the world and they have got some significant value due to their commercial utilization. When we talk about intellectual property, it refers to creations of mind such as inventions, literary and artistic work, be it the designs or symbols or names or images which are used in commerce. It enables people to earn recognition or financial benefit from what they invent or create by striking the right balance between interest of innovators and the wider public interest. The international community has been setting up various policies, regulation, protocols, agreements, conventions by taking into consideration these two most important factors at the time of protection of IPRs or recognition of IPRs. The one important factor is interest of the innovators or interest of the creators, the inventors or the authors. Whenever a person puts in his efforts, be it intellectual efforts or so, the person should be recognized and should be rewarded, meaning whatever efforts the person has put in, he should get some compensation in return, he should get certain exclusive rights, he should be able to enjoy his creation, his invention to the fullest. Whereas, on the other hand, at the time of protecting the interest of the inventors or creators, the society should also be considered, meaning the wider public interest should also be taken into consideration. This was one of the scenario wherein for the first time the patent law was introduced throughout the world. A doctor invented a medicine, rather a medicine for a very common disease in those days in UK, and the doctor said that I want exclusive rights with respect to whatever medicine I have created because I have used my brain, I have used my intellect, I have put in research, I have wasted my, or rather I have invested my money, time and space for this medicine, and I should get exclusive rights for that and I should get the entire ownership for that. In those days, the crown later on identified it and respected the right of the inventor, that is the doctor. But the crown also said that you have invented the medicine for a common disease which is very much prevalent in UK. Many people are dying because of that, and a lot of resources are getting utilized in curing or in trying to taking care of such people. And that is why whatever medicine you have invented, why not use it for the general public, but in return we will give you certain exclusive rights for that particular medicine. And that is why it was the first time in the patent history that the right balance between the interest of the inventor and the public at large was considered. And same logic has been carried forward in all the protection or all the regimes protecting the intellectual property rights. Now, IP system, it aims to foster an environment in which creativity and innovation can flourish. Let's say, for example, tomorrow, let's say you are a scientist and you are trying, or rather, you are working with a pharmaceutical company. Tomorrow you try and invent a vaccine for COVID 19. Let's take the current scenario. You are trying to invent a vaccine for COVID 19. In that case, if you know of the fact that if you invent the vaccine for COVID 19, you will get lot of monetary benefits because whatever formula you have put in for that vaccine, it is only you who will get the entire right over it, and you know it that lot of monetary benefits you will get because of that vaccination, then definitely it is a motivational factor for you to put in more results, or to put in more efforts, more intellect to invent a vaccine for that. And such motivation factor is your IP regime, because it grants you tremendous rights, be it any kind of IP, any type of IT. The specific laws related to that IP grants lot of exclusive rights, monetary benefits in certain terms, and exclusivity with respect to using that product, using that creation, enjoying that creation, selling it, marketing it, importing it, exporting it. Every right get is recognized, and that is why there are a lot of motivational factors in the IP regime. Likewise, legal rights which result from intellectual activity, be it in the industrial or scientific or literary or artistic fields, are protected under the IP regime. Now, this being the background, the worldwide there are many organizations, the prime and the most important organization being the World Trade Organization, commonly known as WTO, is an intergovernmental organization which is concerned with regulation of international trade between its nations. Now, this was commenced in 1995, which majority deals with regulation of trade in goods, services, and intellectual property between participating countries, by providing a framework for negotiating, be it the trade agreements or dispute resolution process, and enforcing the participants' adherence to the WTO agreements. Now, the WTO, it prohibits discrimination between trading partners, but it also provides exceptions for environmental protection or national security and other important goals. Trade related disputes are resolved by independent judges at WTO. One of the finest thing which was carried forward or put into effect by WTO was creation of World Intellectual Property Organization, commonly known as WIPO. Now, this is one of the 15 specialized agencies of United Nations. Pursuant to 1967, there were a lot of conventions with respect to intellectual property, but WIPO was created to promote and protect intellectual property across the world by cooperating with countries as well as with international organizations. It came into effect in 1970, and thereafter it has been conducting activities including hosting forums to discuss and shape international IP rules and policies, or providing global services that register and protect intellectual property in different countries. It is also involved in resolving transboundary IP disputes, helping connect IP systems through uniform standards and infrastructure, and serving as a general reference database on all IP matters. This also includes providing certain reports or statistics on the state of intellectual property protection or innovation globally, and in certain cases country specific. WIPO also works with governments or NGOs and individuals to utilize IP for some socio-economic development. Now, under WIPO, WTO, there have been many agreements, conventions which have been signed, protocols which have come into effect, which are governing, recognizing, and trying to safeguard the IP interest worldwide. One of the most important and prominent agreement is your TRIPS agreement, commonly known as TRIPS. The full form is the Agreement on Trade Related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights. Now, this is an international legal agreement between all members of the WTO. It sets down minimum standards for regulation by national governments of many forms of intellectual property, as they are applied to nationals of other WTO member nations. Now, TRIPS was negotiated in 1990. This agreement introduced intellectual property law into multilateral trading system for the first time, and it remains the most comprehensive multilateral agreement on intellectual property till date. Now, in the year 2001, the developing countries, which were concerned that developed countries were insisting on an overly narrow reading of TRIPS, initiated round of talks, and currently TRIPS has been one of the most significant agreement which provides protection for copyrights, be it geographical indications, industrial designs, integrated circuit layout designs, patents, new plant varieties, trademarks, trade names, confidential information. It also is there into enforcement procedures or dispute resolution between the parties. So, protection and enforcement of an IPR shall meet the objectives to contribute to promotion of technological innovation, but at the same time, TRIPS has been very beneficial in helping the countries form their national legislation for protection of various IPRs. We have other conventions throughout the world, for example, Paris Convention, predominantly related to copyright. We have Madrid Convention, which is again an important convention. We have Hague Agreement, which relates predominantly to designs. Locarno Agreement, which tries to classify various design and their classes. These are some of the agreements and conventions which have played a significant role in developing the IPR regime worldwide. For today, we will start with our first intellectual property right, that is your copyright. This is one of the most famous intellectual property throughout the world. One of the first, most famous for a simple reason: copyright protection can be granted even though it is not registered with the authority. Now, let us first try and understand what exactly is copyright. The word itself suggests that you get a right to copy, meaning you get an exclusive right to copy. Now, copyright, it is a legal term which is used to describe the rights that creators have over their literary and artistic works. Now, there are n number of categories which are provided under the Copyright Act of 1957, which talks about registration of copyright, protection of copyright, what can be registered, what do you understand by copyright, which are the copyrightable material, what is the duration of protection granted to copyrighted material. So, in India, the 1957 legislation predominantly safeguards copyright as an intellectual property. Generally, we have got many categories under copyright. It talks about artistic, literary, dramatic, cinematographic, broadcasting, and these are the rights which the copyright holder gets. Under copyright, one of the unique factor is that it does not provide any protection to ideas or expressions. It only is protecting, or it is only applicable to expression of those ideas, meaning that tomorrow if I have got an idea in my mind that I this is the poem or this is the drawing I want to paint on a piece of paper, it is just in my mind, it is just an idea that I want to draw a beautiful sunset on a piece of paper, but I have not drawn it on a piece of paper. Let's say one of my friend who is also similar nature of mine is also sitting besides me watching a sunset, and the friend starts scribbling a sunset picture on a piece of paper. I cannot go and file a case against that friend saying that I had this in my mind with respect to the sunset, that this should be the drawing of a sunset. How come you copied that idea of mine and how did you put it on a piece of paper? That is copyright infringement. The courts will absolutely reject it, saying that ideas are not protected, it is only the expression of ideas which is protected. You just had an idea of a picture of sunset, but your friend expressed that idea on a piece of paper, means that friend will get the copyright over that drawing. Tomorrow you go ahead and draw a picture, you also will get a copyright over your own drawing. But just an idea cannot be protected, it is the expression of idea which can be protected. In India, the registration of copyright, even though it is not mandatory, but it is recommended, because the minute you get your copyrighted material registered, you get a bona fide validity over it, because the burden of proof now shifts on the other party. The minute you get a registered certificate of your copyrightable material, the copyright office grants you that validity, that tomorrow if somebody infringes your copyright, you get an upper hand and you don't have to prove it in the court that that copyrighted material was your own original work. It is the certificate which proves it in itself. The term of copyright in India is lifetime of the author plus 60 years after the death of the author. Now, this is the longest term which you will find for any intellectual property in India or throughout the world. 60 years after the death of the author. Let's say a person writes the script of a movie when he is of the age of 30 years. That means the minute he writes the script of a movie, he gets a copyright by default from the beginning itself, from the birth of that script itself. The person gets the copyright over that script. He lives till his 90th birthday, let's say from 30 years of age till 90th year of age, he will get the copyright over that. And if he passes away at the age of 90, 60 years from that, he meaning his legal successors will get the copyright over that script. So this is the longest duration for any intellectual property right. The copyright protection, it is obtained automatically without any need for registration or any other formalities. The minute I draw a drawing, I get a copyright over it. The minute I write a poem, I get a copyright over it. I don't have to get it registered. The minute I perform a dance, I get a copyright over it. The minute I write certain lyrics of a song, I get the copyright over it. So copyright is one of the easiest and the most common intellectual property right, for a simple reason: you get the right over it from the birth itself of your creation or of your art, and that is why the registration of copyright is not mandatory, but yes, it is definitely recommended. Now, it is commonly protected work for copyright includes: one is your literary works such as novels, poems, or plays, newspaper articles, or scripts, or lyrics. The second and one of the most important copyrightable material is your computer programs and database. In our subsequent lectures, we will understand how computer programs are copyrightable in India and why are they not patentable in India. Then you have films or musical compositions and choreography. Artistic work includes your paintings or drawings or photographs or sculptures, and it also includes your advertisement, maps, and technical drawings. To give you a small example, this PPT presentation which I have prepared, I have automatically got a copyright over this particular PPT because I have created this PPT. Nobody else can copy, paste, or cut, paste, or print my PPT without my permission. There are exceptions according to our 1957 Copyright Act, but this PPT, I get a copyright over this PPT because I have created it. I don't have to register it to claim its exclusive rights. This is the best example of copyright which I can give you. There are two types of rights under copyright. One is your economic right, which allows the rights owner to derive financial reward from this particular IP, and moral right, which protects the non-economic interests of the author. For example, if I have made this PPT, if I put it on SlideShare website or IP Leaders website, or I put it on YouTube channel, whatever hits I get out of it or whatever monetary benefits I get out of it, I will be entitled to that money. Moral rights are the rights which are not economical rights, but these are the rights which result into certain financial benefits at the later stage. Another concept which is somewhat related to copyright, but it does not have any separate recognition under any separate legislation, but these are related to your Copyright Act 1957, are your related rights. They are commonly also known as neighboring rights, for a simple reason: even though they are not forming part of the top 5 identified rights under the Copyright Act 1957, they help you or they protect the interest of certain persons or entities which contribute to making these work available to the public, or they produce that subject matter which, even if not qualifying under the typical copyright system of a country, they contain sufficient creativity or technicality or organizational skills which justify recognition for a copyright like property right. Under 1957 Copyright Act, the authors, the performers, and the phonogram, that is the records, producers are granted a broadly worded exclusive right of communication to the public. So the related rights or the neighboring rights are identified for three main beneficiaries in India. One are your performers, another category are your producers of sound recording, which are also referred to as phonograms, and third is your broadcasting organization. Now you might feel that why are these people segregated from the remaining people or the remaining authors or artistic people or any other person under the copyright act. They, even though they don't do it 100% on their own, but their creativity or their creative work contributes to the actual author's work, and that is why they are known as the neighbors, or they are granted the neighboring rights. Now the justification for granting them neighboring rights or related rights is very simple. For example, take example of the performers. Now the rights of performers are recognized because their creative intervention is necessary to give life to the motion picture or musical, dramatic, and choreographer work. To give you a small example, let's say a person who is a singer wants to perform on a world class stage. He is performing live at concert. Till the time he is singing, if people are not dancing behind him or the performers are not performing with him, his entire song will not have a very good effect. But if there are performers besides him, maybe musicians or dancers or people who are playing an act or a role, and he is singing simultaneously, the entire live concert will be glorified more. It will have a more life in its performance, and that is why the performers' rights are also recognized. Another right is that of the producers of sound recording. Now they are not the people who on there go ahead and record any sound or any particular song, but the name producer itself suggests that they have put in that monetary benefit, financial or organizational resources to make that recording come into picture. So they are recognized because their financial or creative or organizational resources are necessary to make sound recordings. They are often based on either musical works which are available to public in commercial form, and because of their legitimate interest in having legal resources, they have a right to take action against the unauthorized work. For example, piracy. Tomorrow, if a producer of a sound recording has recorded it and that person is putting it down only on a record, that means only on YouTube, whosoever is the financer for that person should get the rights over that particular. Tomorrow, if somebody downloads that work from YouTube or tries to put it down on any particular channel, the producer will get a right to file an infringement case against that person. The third ones are the broadcasting organizations. The name itself suggests that these people go on broadcasting the works which are created. They are involved in transmission or retransmission of the broadcast, and that is why they help the work come into the light on the public. So these are the related rights or the neighboring rights which are granted to these three major beneficiaries. The Copyright Act 1957 recognizes these related rights, and they are also considered at the time of granting the relief in case of infringement of the copyright.